What happens when a quiet factory cleaner is dared to fix a massive broken engine? As a joke, laughter fills the air as she steps forward, her broom still in hand. Grease-stained men whisper, mocking her every move. She says nothing. Listens. The machine hums faintly, whispering secrets no one else can hear. With steady hands, she twists a single bolt, adjusts a hidden valve, and in an instant, the dead engine roars back to life. The crowd falls silent. The man who mocked her turns pale, but this is only the beginning. Her calm strength shakes the factory, silences pride, and earns a respect no one expected. By the end of this story, you'll see how dignity can speak louder than power, and how a single act of courage can change everything. Stay with me, because this simple woman's quiet. Victory will leave you stunned, asterisk under the scorching sun. The factory yard buzzed with noise, engines roared, metal clanged. The smell of oil and grease filled the air. Workers hurried between machines, their faces dripping with sweat. In the center of it all, a group of engineers stood laughing near a massive engine that had come to a sudden stop. Its pistons were still, its gears locked. A faint hiss of steam rose from its side, filling the air with a sharp metallic scent. The senior engineer, a tall man with a confident grin, leaned against the engine. He glanced at a woman sweeping the floor nearby. She wore a faded uniform, her hair tied back neatly. Her hands were rough from labor, her eyes calm and steady. "Hey, you," the engineer called out. "Think you can fix this machine?" The workers chuckled. Some shook their heads. The idea was ridiculous. She was not a mechanic. She was a cleaner. Yet she stepped forward slowly, her broom still in hand. Her gaze lingered on the silent engine. The sunlight glinted on its steel surface, reflecting in her eyes. She placed the broom aside and approached the machine. The men stepped back, smirking, whispering to one another. Her fingers traced the edges of the engine, feeling every dent and groove. She crouched, her ear close to the machine, listening. The laughter around her grew louder. The engineer crossed his arms. "Well," he said, "do you even know what you are looking at?" She said nothing. Her focus did not waver. The air felt heavier now, filled with the scent of hot oil. A faint ticking echoed inside the machine, like a heartbeat trapped within steel walls. She reached for a nearby wrench, its handle warm from the sun. Her hand was steady. The men exchanged puzzled looks. With a quick movement, she loosened a bolt near the base. Steam hissed out, sharp and sudden. Several workers flinched. She wiped her hand on her apron and adjusted a small valve. The engine groaned, as if waking from sleep. The laughter stopped. The only sound was the hiss of steam and the rhythmic thump of her hand striking a jammed gear into place. She pressed a switch. The machine shuddered. The men held their breath. The pistons jerked, then began to move, slow at first, then faster. The gears turned smoothly. The roar of the engine filled the air again. Gasps echoed through the yard. The engineer's smirk faded. His face grew pale. The woman stepped back, wiping a streak of grease from her cheek. Her eyes met his, calm and unwavering. She picked up her broom. Returning to her work without a word, the yard fell silent except for the steady hum of the revived machine. All eyes followed her as she swept the floor, as if nothing had happened. Asterisk whispers rippled through the crowd like wind through dry leaves. "Did you see that?" One man muttered, his voice barely above a breath. She fixed it." Another said, disbelief heavy in his tone. The engineer's jaw tightened. His pride stung. He tried to laugh, but the sound cracked in his throat. "She must have gotten lucky," he said loudly, forcing a grin. Anyone could have done that. But no one responded. The workers' eyes stayed on her. There was no luck in the way she moved, no hesitation in her touch. She kept sweeping, her broom moving in calm. Steady strokes. The sound of bristles against concrete was louder now than the chatter of men. The engineer's hands curled into fists. He stepped closer, towering over her. "Who taught you that?" he demanded. She paused, leaning on her broom. Her gaze was firm, her voice soft. "My father," she said. "He built engines. Before this factory ever stood here." The words cut through the silence. A few older workers exchanged glances, recognition flashing in their eyes. The engineer faltered, his confidence crumbling. "Your father," he murmured. She nodded once, then bent to pick up a stray bolt from the ground, placing it neatly on a nearby workbench. The workers slowly gathered around the engine, inspecting it. Every gear spun flawlessly. The hiss of steam had quieted too. A soft whisper. She knew exactly what was wrong. A mechanic whispered, awe in his voice. "Better than any of us." The engineer's face flushed. He turned away, but the weight of dozens of eyes followed him. The woman moved on, sweeping between machines, her expression calm and unreadable. But the whispers grew louder. Respect replaced laughter. Even the clanging of tools softened, as if the entire yard recognized her quiet power. The engineer clenched his jaw, the sting of humiliation burning his pride. His joke had turned on him, yet there she was, graceful and unbothered, her dignity shining brighter than the steel around her. Asterisk. The engineer's footsteps echoed sharply on the concrete as he followed her. She felt his presence behind her, but did not turn. Instead, she kept sweeping, her broom gliding over the dusty floor. "You think this makes you special?" His voice was low, almost a growl. "Fixing one machine does not make you better than us." She paused, leaning on the broom handle, her eyes lifted to meet his, steady and unshaken. "I was not trying to be better," she said softly. "I was just doing what needed to be done." The men nearby exchanged uneasy glances. Her calm words carried more weight than anger ever could. The engineer's face darkened, but his voice faltered. "You," he began, but the words caught in his throat. Another worker stepped forward, his hands still stained with grease. "She saved us hours of work," he said. "She saved this company a fortune. Should be thanking her." The engineer's mouth opened, but no sound came out. His pride hung heavy, crushing his voice. The woman turned away from him, sweeping once more. Her movements were slow, deliberate, as if every stroke of the broom swept away not just dirt, but the laughter, the doubt. The mockery around her, the factory seemed quieter. The hum of the engine was steady, almost reverent. Even the sun streaming through the high windows felt softer, golden light catching on the sheen of her hair. The workers whispered among themselves. Their eyes filled with a new kind of respect. Some even straightened their backs, inspired by her calm strength. The engineer's laughter was gone. In its place was silence, heavy and uncomfortable. But she felt no need to gloat. Her dignity was her answer. She swept past him without a word, leaving him frozen in his own shame. The men watched her go, their gazes lingering, their whispers spreading like fire. The cleaner who fixed the impossible, the woman they had underestimated, and the man who dared her, now silent in her shadow. By midday, the story had already traveled beyond the factory floor. Supervisors whispered in the hallways, their voices low but urgent. Managers gathered near the office windows, peering down at the woman sweeping calmly among the machines. The factory owner himself, a stern man in a tailored suit, stepped onto the floor. His polished shoes clicked sharply against the metal grates. Workers straightened instinctively. The hum of the engines echoed through the cavernous space. The smell of grease and heat hung thick in the air, yet all eyes followed him as he approached her. She sensed his presence but did not stop sweeping. Her broom moved steadily, drawing patterns in the dust. "Is it true?" His deep voice cut through the quiet. "You repaired that engine?" She lifted her gaze slowly, her expression calm. "Yes," she replied. "It needed fixing." Owner raised an eyebrow, glancing at the cluster of men behind him, engineers, mechanics, supervisors all silent, their earlier laughter now replaced with shame. He studied her face, her worn uniform, the roughness of her hands. A faint smile touched his lips. "Show me," he said. She nodded and set down her broom. The crowd followed her to the massive engine, now humming perfectly. The smell of heated steel had faded, replaced by the faint scent of polished metal. She crouched, pointing out the jammed valve, the loosened bolt, the slight misalignment that had caused the breakdown. Her voice was steady, confident, yet humble. The owner knelt beside her, his eyes narrowing with interest as she explained each step she had taken. He straightened, looking at his staff. "One of you notice this?" The men shifted uncomfortably. Avoiding his gaze, he turned back to her. "What is your name?" "Maya," she said quietly. "Maya?" he repeated thoughtfully, his voice carrying through the silent factory. "I think your talents are being wasted on a broom." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The engineer who had mocked her earlier stiffened, his face drained of color. But Maya only bowed her head slightly, her calm demeanor unchanged. "I only do what I can," she said. "Work is work." The owner studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled, a rare expression that softened his stern features. "Not anymore," he said. "From today, you will join our engineering team." Whispers grew louder, shock and admiration mixing in every voice. Maya stood silently, her hands clasped in front of her. I felt every eye on her, yet her composure did not falter. The engineer who had dared her shifted back, shame heavy on his shoulders. He avoided her gaze, his pride crumbling further with every passing second. The factory floor, once filled with noise and mockery, now stood in quiet awe of the woman whose dignity had silenced them all. The factory floor buzzed with murmurs as the announcement spread like wildfire. Maya stood still, her expression calm, but inside she felt the weight of every stare. Respect replaced mockery. Yet the shift in the air carried something heavier. Envier, who had mocked her, clenched his jaw, his hands balled into fists. He stepped back, retreating into the group, but his eyes never left her. Maya felt it, that sharp, burning gaze, heavy with resentment. Still, she held her broom firmly, as if it was a shield, and returned to her sweeping. The factory owner walked alongside her. "You have a gift," he said quietly. "Do you realize how rare it is to see a machine like that, to hear its heartbeat the way you do?" She looked up at him, her voice steady. "My father taught me," he said. "A machine speaks, if you are patient enough to listen." The owner nodded thoughtfully. "You will start tomorrow."
Oh.
"There will be training, but I can see that you are ready." "No more than most." The workers around them shifted uneasily. Some looked impressed, others suspicious. But the engineer, his pride shattered, stepped forward. "This is ridiculous," he said sharply. "She is a cleaner, not an engineer. One lucky guess does not make her an expert." The air grew heavy. The murmurs stopped. Maya turned to face him, her calmness unshaken. She did not argue, did not defend herself. Instead, she said softly, "You may believe what you wish." Her composure only made him angrier. He stepped closer, his voice rising. "She is making fools of all of us. She thinks she is better because she fixed one engine." "Enough," the owner's voice thundered. The word echoed through the factory like a hammer striking steel. "Do not mistake dignity for arrogance. This woman has earned respect. Something you have yet to show." The engineer froze. His face burned red, his pride crumbling further as the workers' eyes turned to him with quiet disapproval. Maya bowed her head slightly to the owner and went back to sweeping. The broom moved in slow, deliberate strokes, its soft rasp against the floor filling the silence. Every step she took seemed heavier with meaning. The workers watched her differently now, some with admiration, some with envy, and one with a dangerous kind of resentment. The engine roared steadily in the background, reminder of her quiet victory. And yet in the shadow of that triumph, tension lingered like smoke in the air. The tension clung to the factory like the scent of oil and smoke. Maya worked silently, sweeping along the concrete aisles, her calm presence drawing more eyes than she wanted. Everywhere she walked, conversations hushed and whispers trailed behind her. But one gaze never left her. The engineer stood in the corner, his arms crossed, his jaw tight. The humiliation burned deeper than any wound, his pride twisted into something sharper. He watched her carefully, his mind racing with thoughts he would never say out loud. She had taken from him what he valued most: respect, and though no one else noticed the storm building in his expression, Maya felt it. Like a chill sliding across her back, his stare followed her every step. That evening, long after most workers had left, Maya remained behind, wiping grease from the tools she had borrowed. The factory was quieter now, but the silence felt strange. Heavier than usual, the dim yellow lights flickered over the towering machines. The rhythmic hum of the repaired engine was steady, almost comforting. Her senses sharpened every creak and clang echoing too loudly in the stillness. She placed the last wrench neatly on the workbench and turned to leave. Footsteps echoed from the far end of the hall, slow, deliberate. She froze. The sound of boots against concrete grew louder, and a shadow stretched across the floor. From behind the machines, the engineer appeared. His face was calm, too calm, his eyes glinting in the dim light. "Working late," he said softly, his voice carrying a strange edge. "You must enjoy impressing people." Maya met his gaze, her own steady but cautious. "I am only doing my job," she replied. He chuckled, but there was no warmth in the sound. "You made me look like a fool today." She said nothing, gripping the edge of the workbench. He stepped closer, his voice low. "People think you are special now. They look at you differently. But I know the truth. You are just lucky." Maya straightened, her expression calm, but inside her chest, her heart beat faster. "I do not need them to look at me differently," she said. "I only need to do what is right." His smirk faded, replaced by something darker. "Right," he muttered. "Let us see how long your luck lasts." He turned sharply and walked away, his footsteps fading into the shadows. Maya stood still, her breathing steady, but her mind alert. She sensed that this was not over. The air itself felt heavier, as if the machines around her could feel the coming storm. The next morning. The factory buzzed with its usual rhythm. Engines roared. Workers shouted over the noise, and sunlight streamed through the high windows, painting golden streaks across the machines. But there was a different energy in the air. Maya walked through the aisles. It's no longer just the woman with a broom. Workers greeted her with nods, some with quiet smiles, their respect evident in every glance. She carried a small toolbox now, her steps steady, her back straight. The factory owner watched her from a distance, his arms crossed. He had seen many workers come and go, but none like her come humble and strong. Her presence had changed something deeper than just one engine. As she passed by the massive machine she had revived, she paused, resting a hand on its smooth steel surface. It hummed steadily under her touch, as if acknowledging her. The engineer stood nearby, silent. His resentment lingered, but it had softened into something he could not name. Pride, perhaps, or shame, or even respect. He looked away when she glanced at him, but she offered him a small nod. Not of victory, but of peace. And in that simple gesture, the tension eased. The factory no longer felt divided. Instead, it thrummed with a quiet sense of unity, born from her dignity. She returned to her work, moving with the same calm grace she always had, broom in one hand, toolbox in the other. Whispers of her story spread beyond the factory walls, inspiring others who had been overlooked, underestimated, or silenced. Maya had not sought attention. She had only done what needed to be done. And in doing so, she had changed everything. The machines roared on, steady and strong. But it was her quiet strength that truly powered the factory that day.